All right, it looks like we have a good group already in, and it's a short meeting, so I don't want to delay us any more than we have to. But thank you all for joining us today. I think everyone can say that we are all feeling the pain of rising electric bills this year, but as with most things, this squeeze is disproportionately burdening or disproportionately burdens low-income families across Pennsylvania. Because energy costs take up a much larger slice of income for low-income families, many struggle to afford basics like heat in the winter, cooling in the summer, food, medicine, and rent at the same time. Energy efficiency is one of the fastest, cheapest, and most effective ways to save money, to improve quality of life, and help the environment without sacrificing performance or comfort. And energy efficiency in low-income multifamily housing isn't just about saving energy, it's about affordability, it is about health, equity, and dignity, while creating safer, more resilient homes for the people who need them the most. So, very excited to be joined by Liz Marks from the Pennsylvania Utility Law Project, as well as Jack Stucker from Regional Housing Legal Services. They're going to be talking about Act 129's Conservation and Energy Efficiency Program. Um, Act 129 has been around for a number of years. It does require electric companies to submit a plan. And so Liz is going to give us an overview of those plans, how they benefit us, particularly those in multifamily housing. And then we are going to hear about how we can comment and engage and help shape those plans. So, with that, now that you know who we are, and I'm Gail with the Housing Alliance, moderator for today, we want to take a moment to hear who all of you are. So, we're going to put up a poll real quick while we get Liz to pull up her slides. So, we'll keep it open for just a minute.
Wouldn't be a day in remote world if I didn't not put my mute button off. But hello, everyone. Thanks, Gail, for inviting us to attend. As folks may note, I'm not Levi Phillips with the Utility Law Project. He is unfortunately recovering from the flu, so I'm pinch hitting for him today. I think folks generally know who the Utility Law Project is, but we are statewide.
Let's hold off and just like share the
Yeah, of
poll
course. Oh,
results
I'm
real
sorry.
quick.
Of course.
I know you're very excited to talk about Act 129, but it looks like we have a lot of developers, a lot of community development folks, and a few folks from the utilities, as well as local government. So, welcome all, and anybody who has any questions, please feel free to use the chat to engage throughout the presentation today.
All right. I think I'll take it from here. And thanks, Gail, again for inviting us to attend and share some background information on Act 129. Really important law, right? It was Act 129 was created in 2008 and it requires large electric utility companies across the state to have comprehensive energy and efficiency and conservation programs. The law requires the Public Utility Commission to set energy saving targets where the electric utilities must reduce overall energy usage across the different kinds of customer classes, residential, commercial, and industrial, by a certain percentage each year. The purpose really is to reduce electric consumption and demand. Move to the next slide. Let's see how I do that. Okay, just so that folks know, I know we've got folks from all over the state on this webinar. Generally, the electric utility companies are in the different parts of the state. We have Duquesne Light in Allegheny and Beaver counties. Then we have the four first energy companies, Penelec, Penn Power, West Penn Power, and Met Ed. We have the PPL utility company that serves kind of the central and northeast part of the state. And then we have PECO, which serves Philadelphia and the Collar counties. So what does Act 129 programming look like? Well, if you've ever received a free light bulb from a stand at one of your local fairs, or a discount in a store on a refrigerator or an energy efficient appliance. If you've received home energy reports in the mail comparing your energy usage to your neighbors, you've received some kind of benefit from Act 129. These programs are offered to residential customers and commercial and industrial customers, and they can take the form of rebates or incentives for high efficiency appliances. They can take the form of rebates for recycling old appliances. So if you've ever gotten, $20 from your utility company for turning in an old window air conditioning unit, that's a common one that folks have run into Act 129 programming before. Um, Home energy audits. So if you've had somebody come out to your house, paid $100, or if you're a lower income household, you might have gotten this for free, where they do a walkthrough and they see what kinds of energy efficiency resources they can install in your home to help reduce energy usage. And then there's also energy efficiency kits, which are pretty common. They generally have light bulbs, power strips, maybe a night light. A lot of you with kids have probably received from your kids in a school program, something like that. So there is programming again for each type of customer class, and multifamily programming is included as well. But it's, for the first several years of Act 129 has been rather underdeveloped in terms of the reach to multifamily buildings because they're harder to serve. So just a note on why Act 129 is important. Well, first of all, it reduces energy overall, which also reduces home energy cost, and it helps people stay connected to service. It also reduces the need to build expensive new utility infrastructure, which is a primary goal of Act 129. In addition to saving individuals energy and energy costs on their bill, it also helps to reduce overall demand on our energy system, which can help to drive down the need to build out new utility infrastructure. And as we, face a new world where we've got tons of very high energy intensive users through the introduction of hyperscale data centers, it's even more important that we be figuring out how to drive down energy usage overall on our grid. It also, for lower income households, it helps fill the gap where the low income usage reduction program or the weatherization assistance program, which has limited funding and generally is targeted to the highest users, it helps those who are maybe not the highest of the high users, but have higher than usage than they should. It helps fill the gaps for that. So really critical importance of these programming. So how is it implemented? Act 129 has been rolled out in phases. Right now, the PUC at the start of each phase, they create kind of the roadmap for how that next phase will go. And so last spring, the Public Utility Commission worked on the phase 5 rollout. What are the rules of the road for phase 5, which will launch in June 1? New programs for all 4 of the major electric utilities. And right now we've got the rules of the road, and then the utilities submitted energy efficiency plans for how they intend to meet those rules, how they intend to meet the energy savings targets that were established by the Public Utility Commission, how they intend to provide low-income energy efficiency programming in particular, both to single-family households and multifamily buildings. And then, in that framework, the public utility set out, they also set policy goals for the types of measures. And the Public Utility Commission has said, we've had a lot of light bulbs. It's time we start getting into some more deeper measures, more of the higher cost kind of comprehensive measures that can save overall energy in addition to helping people save on their bills, right? A light bulb is great, but it's only going to save you a couple cents. It's those deeper measures, insulation and air sealing, and other types of, appliances, heating systems that really help to save energy and bill and reduce bills overall. So each utility submitted their plan. They actually submitted their plans by December 1st. And now the Public Utility Commission is in the process of reviewing those plans. So right now, we are in a comment phase where, each of those plans was filed, and the public is invited to file comments on each of those utility plans. In terms of, what they think would be great. So a couple points on how multifamily housing providers might be able to leverage Act 129 programming. And I'm going to turn it to Jack in a moment to talk a little bit more in detail about, what those phase 5 plans that were proposed look like. But in terms of, current phases, all of the electric distribution companies, the major electric companies, which is abbreviated here as EDCs, they're required to target and engage with multifamily housing in some way, right? There has to be plans that serve programs that are capable of serving all the types of different buildings, and that includes multifamily. They need to provide incentives both for in-unit and common areas, and as well as energy efficiency upgrades for both individually metered and master metered buildings. This can include different types of measures, building shell measures like insulation and air sealing, HVAC upgrades, lighting, all the other types of measures that help reduce overall building energy usage. Now, for multifamily, each of the different EDCs does have some kind of cost share in terms of how much a building owner pays and how much how much the program will pay towards those measures. And that's where, there is room for advocacy in terms of how these programs should be designed to effectively reach and serve low-income multifamily, which provides you all know, added challenges for how you can access comprehensive energy efficiency and making sure those programs are accessible. So for phase 5, there is some coordination that is required to happen between the utilities and the, what we anticipate will soon be launched, the home energy rebates and home electrification appliance rebate programs in terms of funding some multifamily energy efficiency building audits known as ASHRAE Level 2 audits, and how much they can co-fund subsequent energy efficiency measures. But I'll say, as Jack will get into a little bit, it's each utility proposes a different type of mix of measures, and the guidelines for those are all under consideration before the Public Utility Commission now. So I mentioned the review process a couple of times. We are in the middle of that review process. Each of the large electric utility companies filed their plans on December 1st. Those plans are being reviewed through formal litigation and also through a public comment period. The public comment period was recently extended by a few days to January 18th, which is actually a Sunday. So we're, advising folks that they should try and get their comments filed by the prior Friday, but if they can't, the Monday after, and the PUC will consider those comments. They'll consider the testimony that's put on in the formal litigation, and then they'll review and either approve or require amendments to each of the electric distribution companies' plans. And then by June 1, we'll see all of those new programs launch. So I do have some links to each of those proposed plans for the four major electric utility companies. Again, the Med-Ed, Penelec, Penn Power, and West Penn Power are all First Energy companies, so they're all under the same plan. But I'm going to now kick it over to, I think I'm kicking it back for another poll to Gail and on to Jack to talk about some more about what's in those plans and some avenues for advocacy here.
I think we're going to hear from Jack first.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Let me make sure I can share my screen here. Theoretically, everyone's seeing my slideshow now. Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
Terrific. All right. Well, thank you, Liz and Paul, first of all, for your expertise, leadership, advocacy generally, and in this Act 129 area specifically. It's really appreciated, and Housing Alliance for providing forums and opportunities to get information out like this. Liz gave a great table setting and overview of Act 129, and I'm going to provide some information about the comments which we are planning to submit. Because we are pretty time constrained here, I'm going to go pretty fast and it'll be a high level overview. And I'll detail at the end the opportunity to engage and potentially sign on to these comments for folks who are interested in doing that. I see a lot of familiar names on the call, but some that I definitely don't recognize. For anyone who doesn't know, Regional Housing Legal Services is a nonprofit legal organization serving communities throughout Pennsylvania. And we have a vision where everyone, regardless of income, race, identity, or background, has a safe, affordable home and a place where they want to live. And these types of energy programs are critically important to that, both the safety of a home and it being comfortable and the affordability by making sure that energy cost burdens don't price people out of where they want to live. Liz gave a really good overview of where we are in the process for comment. I have a slide here that provides that too, and a link to the bulletin, but I don't think I'll spend a lot of time. I will say, as Liz mentioned, the comments are due January 18th, but the comments that I'll be discussing today with the opportunity to sign on, we are planning on filing those by Friday to ensure that they're in. And I'll close with a description of how folks can have an opportunity to review the comments that we're putting together and the opportunity to sign on to the comments as a joint member. Um, we will be submitting comments as the Coalition for Equitable Energy and Housing in Pennsylvania. There's a group of organizations sharing a common goal of ensuring individuals and families, particularly in multifamily buildings, have access to energy efficiency programs. This coalition did submit comments to the earlier part of the process that Liz described. I've got a link to those comments here for folks who are interested in sort of taking the step back and reviewing that. And today, I'm going to be providing an overview of the coalition's joint comments on the EE&C plans directly. I've also got docket links to those plans, so the slides will be distributed and available for anyone who wants to review them in more detail as a follow-up to this presentation. You can see those there. The coalition is focused on four main themes in the plan recommendations that will form sort of the structure of the comments that we are submitting. I've got a slide here. I want to start by overviewing what they are and then provide some brief detail and background on why we think these areas are important and what we're going to be advocating for through the comments. First, we're focused on making it easier for multifamily housing to qualify as low income or resource constrained. As Liz mentioned, the companies are all required to set a certain amount of Act 129 resources towards serving low income housing. The definition at the household level is clear, but what's required for a building to qualify to have access to that set aside, we think there's opportunities for improvements. We want to make sure that there are free programs available in both individually metered buildings where tenants pay electric and mastered metered buildings where the electric is included in rent. We think this is particularly important in the affordable housing context because affordable housing owners are resource constrained and their ability to raise rents on individuals is limited in a way that's unique from market rate housing contexts. We think there needs to be an improvement on marketing plans that are sent directly to residents and affordable housing owners to increase the visibility and accessibility of the measures available under Act 129. And we think there can continue to be improvements in whole home resources that go beyond light bulbs and energy efficiency packets and focus on the measures that Liz discussed around building envelope and building systems improvements. Towards the end of this presentation, there will be another poll that Liz sort of telegraphed and mentioned, focused on your take on among these priorities, what's most important. As I walk through these, I want to emphasize that we are capturing information entered into the comment section on this presentation. So if as I'm presenting, you have thoughts on any of these areas or what's important to you and the communities you serve, we will be capturing those and they'll influence as we finalize the drafting of these comments. The first area we want to talk about is making it easier for housing to qualify as low income to have access to those set aside resources in the Act 129 program. While the definition for at the household level is very clear, there are not uniform standards and procedures for how a building qualifies to access these measures. Two of the plans have an unclear standard. Duquesne and Pico have set percentages of the buildings that have to meet those low-income household definitions in order to access these building measures. We're recommending clear standards across all plans, so there's transparency in what's required to qualify, improvements in the processes for determining what those breakdowns are, how owners are required to show that in order to qualify, and categorical eligibility for certain affordable housing programs that definitionally meet these low income standards. We also want to make sure that there are free programs or the most beneficial cost sharing breakdowns possible through all affordable housing building typologies, regardless of how they're metered. We're going to be advocating for expanded access to these and clarifying the requirements for when they're in master metered affordable housing, when they can qualify for no cost programs. We think this is important and unique in the affordable housing context due to the financial constraints that affordable housing owners face, being resource constrained and constrained in their ability to pass costs along to the tenants by virtue of rent increases, by virtue of the commitments that they've made by participating in the affordable housing programs that they're a part of. We do think that there's opportunity for improvements in the measures that are available that emphasize and focus on building-based and whole home measures. These are opportunities to create dramatic savings when building envelope and systems improvement measures are implemented. They are available and accessible under Act 129, and we think there are improvements to be made for making it easier to qualify and access those higher cost services with a greater opportunity for savings. Liz mentioned the availability of home energy audits. Currently, the home energy audits that are available are often those sort of walkthrough audits, which are important and critical and can identify the quick top line ways that a building can save. But we think that we are going to comment to advocate for increased access to funding for more thorough improvements, those ASHRAE level 2. As Liz mentioned, those are required for the HER and HERE programs, which can make owners eligible for much more comprehensive improvements. The ASHRAE Level 2 cost sharing is available, and we are focusing on improving the accessibility and transparency for when the companies will cost share for those more intensive and thorough audits. The final thing that we're focusing on is making the marketing plans more available with direct marketing. Currently, outreach and marketing is pretty minimal. All of the companies have web portals or information online, but they're sometimes buried and hard to access. We think increased direct marketing to residents and affordable housing building owners is critical, and are also going to be advocating for increased transparency in reporting and outreach activity outcomes as a measure of making sure that folks who are eligible for these programs are aware of what they are and how to access them. There's a couple of ways to comment that I want to provide some brief overview on. And if we have time, which I think we might, Liz is going to, I think, do a little more of a detailed walkthrough on the e-file system. As I mentioned, the coalition is finalizing our set of comments. They will be distributed this Friday, January 9th, for folks who are interested in signing on to join that coalition comment. The deadline to sign on will be next Wednesday to ensure we have enough time to finalize our sign-ons and file the comments by Friday. We're only accepting organizations to sign on to this joint comment, and we'll need to ensure that there's an authorized representative from your organization once that's out, and if you're interested in signing on. We encourage individuals who are interested or motivated to comment to file comments individually. I've got some links here to the PUC's resources for how to file those comments. And that's that. So I think, Gail, if you want to put up the poll on the ranked choice voting for the measures, and we'll make sure that these slides get distributed and accessible for everyone. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll give folks just about 30 seconds. It's just the headings that Jack went over. The reason we're asking this poll is it's going to help us kind of structure. We want to put, what is most valuable to you all early up in how we frame our comments. And the sign on for the comments that RHLS has been putting together will be sent out. The organizational sign out will be sent out along with the slides and information from today's webinar. So just going to give it like 5 more seconds, and then I am going to end the poll and let Liz close us out with some additional information on how to engage. You're on mute, Liz.
All right. Well, I think while we're closing this out, I'm having a hard time getting my PowerPoint back up, and my apologies. What I'm going to do is drop in the chat step-by-step instructions of how you can file your own comments to the Public Utility Commission. So Jack talked about comments that Regional Housing is preparing to allow folks to sign on to, but certainly members of the public and folks with experience in this area, if you have experience accessing these programs or attempting to access these programs in the past, or have ideas about how to make it more accessible to you, the Public Utility Commission needs to hear that, right? And so I already put in the chat a link to all the different docket numbers, so you can access the plan that was filed in your utility service territory. And I'm going to drop in the chat now step-by-step instructions of how you can e-file your own comments. It can be a quick letter. It can be a paragraph that you want to write. The Public Utility Commission will accept all public comments submitted by the deadline of January 18th. What you need to do is go to the the Public Utility Commission's e-filing account. You click on create account at the top, you verify your email address. You go back to that e-filing account. When you log in, you're going to want that docket number, and you put that in as an existing filing. And then you'll see a drop down where you select comment, and then you can upload your PDF of your comments and click submit. Make sure you click all the way through till you get the verification page saying that you've submitted. And that's as simple as that. If you do need help at all through the process, please reach out to us for technical assistance at the Pennsylvania Utility Law Project. I'm going to drop our general technical assistance email into the chat as well. We're always happy to provide technical assistance also on how to file comments, but also kind of what are the programs available in your area, or you've got a client that's got a problem that you're needing some help working through. We're there to help when you need it. So please reach out to us. This is our technical assistance email that I'm dropping in. So please note, we don't serve clients individually through that email. So please don't give it out to all of your clients, but use it as a resource to answer questions that you run into in serving clients that you're helping. So with that, I think we're out of time, but I'll pass it back to Gail to get us closed out.
Yeah, this was a brief but dense webinar or meeting. Like I said, we're going to be sending information out afterwards, organizational sign-on for our comments. Of course, you are encouraged to submit your own comments as well. And if you need help, reach out to the amazing folks at Pulp. As we continue to go through this process, as plans are refined, as plans go live, like the Housing Alliance is, of course, going to, offer our assistance to the utility companies to let you all know about these programs as they become available. So this is an ongoing conversation, and we hope to see you all next time. So thank you so much, and have a good afternoon.